I really like using tools like the BCG Matrix because the Boston Consulting Group is a non-academic. They're a consulting company for private businesses. Companies hire them to help them make strategic decisions. Although this tool's from 1970, and I've had students say they love it, I've had students say it's too simplistic. Either way, I think it's hard to argue that the concept of what have you stopped doing and are you wasting resources is a huge one. Nobody has enough resources to do it all. Even Apple Corporation, which is quoted as having $200 billion in the bank in stocks, issued a bond a few years back because that money's tied up in different countries and taxes. Companies don't have enough resources, and that can include money, people, or even marketing decisions. So I'll show you an example of a company that we analyzed a few years back and what they ended up really doing, and we'll look at Ford Motor Company today. So what is the STAR? The STAR is not debatable in terms of it's got to have a high growth rate, meaning sales are going, and it also has to have a high market share. Well, the F-150 is the leading selling vehicle, I think, 30 years in a row globally. So that dominates the American car market is the F-Series trucks. So that's their STAR. They also have some other ones that are growing, like their crossovers for the Ford Flex. And the SUVs still are selling. Sedans aren't. So Ford is really a truck slash crossover slash SUV company. Their cows aren't growing, but making money. That would be your sedans and your Mustangs. They've never tried to have super high volume in those areas, but the Mustang is one of the muscle cars that sells, and the Taurus has always been a huge seller in terms of fleet vehicles. They had a big market share in that functional four-door car category, I call it. The dogs, they used to have a Mercury division. It wasn't luxury and it wasn't economy. It was caught in between. And at the time, they were getting really whooped by Lexus and Cadillac. They weren't doing well in the luxury car market, which is the growth market globally. So what'd they do? They made the real world decision to kill Mercury off. And when they killed off Mercury, in theory, by using this tool that shows you funds can be allocated towards updating the F-150, keeping the Taurus updated as well so it still sells. But now we can allocate resources to our luxury car line, and I think Ford did do this. Lincoln is doing better. It's still not Cadillac, Lexus, but they're doing a better job with that. Where they're still struggling is new technology in terms of electric cars, hybrid cars, and in the hugely important market of Asia. They've gotten defeated in China. They struggle worldwide. They're putting their resources in India. So they took resources from Mercury, said we can't neglect F-150, but we've got to also start selling Lincoln, making products better, and we're going to put a lot of money into Indian manufacturing and focus on that. Where they haven't done a good job is the technology. So this is still a truck company, and the stock price reflects that. If you look at the baby blue is Ford Motor Company, up 23% over 10 years. Orange is the NASDAQ technology-based, the S&P 500, the 500 biggest companies. So Ford has literally performed 23% increase to 58% increase. So they're down like over double. They've been outperformed by double by the market, and the technology stocks have outperformed them by a ratio of 130 to 23. So when you look at the stock price over 10 years, it's hard to argue that Ford has not addressed their portfolio like they need to. And we'll ask you guys to go through and do one. This is an interesting tool to work with. And remember, in life and business, it's not always what you're doing. Tell me what you've stopped doing, because that's wasting valuable resources on a dog that can be used to shore up question marks, which is the growth of the future, and stars and cows, which pay the bills today.